Eli Tomac, one of the most exciting riders to ever race the sport of Supercross or Motocross. Looks like 2021 is probably his swan song, but I want to just pay a little tribute to the man himself for being his own personal chase format and just being Eli. I'm going to miss him when he's gone. He is probably one of the most exciting guys I've ever seen. I mean, let's see, he started at Hangtown by winning his first national ever. Who does that? Who just comes out and wins their very first national? So at this point, we're thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to win every race he ever enters from here on out. He's going to break every record. But then we saw the first signs of what Eli really is. The next week, after being on the podium, winning, hugging, all that, he shows up at Freestone, hole shots, huge lead, checks out, looks like, oh my God, he's for real, he's no joke. And then it hits, he gets heat stroke. As the heat stroke sets in, these riders gradually caught him and started picking him off. And we saw the first up and down of Eli's career. But hey, it was hot. Happened to a lot of people, right? No big deal. Well, so he gets it together, races Supercross next year. Then the following year, I believe his second year in Supercross, wins the title. In his third year in Supercross, he's defending his 250 title with a decent lead. And he endos. First he wrecks in San Diego, then he endos, handing this lead to Roczen with 2 rounds left. This was, I believe, maybe Seattle. And then he went from Seattle to Salt Lake with a huge deficit. Roczen does something that Roczen doesn't normally do. It doesn't even make the main event. So in Salt Lake, all Eli has to do is do what he's been doing all year, get on the podium or win the race, and he's got a point lead heading into the final race in Vegas. Does he do it? Of course not. That's not Eli's style. He likes to keep it exciting, so he comes in and just squirrels out. He couldn't even get through the whoops. It was so weird. But he'd been testing a 450, so we attributed that to not being ready because he was riding a 250 and it made him uncomfortable. But it was really just Eli. Eli being Eli. So the next year, he jumps up to the 450 for the Geico Honda team on a Honda 450, does really well, gets second overall in the Supercross series, wins 3 rounds, and we look like he's going to be the guy. Then he goes outdoors and just absolutely smashes everyone at Hangtown. Wins by 1 minute and 31 seconds in the second moto. Wins Glen Helen, then gets to Colorado and has this horrific crash where he just smashes himself. Dislocates both shoulders. I mean, he hit so hard his boot came off. It was brutal. Well, after this, he just wasn't... He took the whole 2016. He just changed teams. He signed with Monster Energy Kawasaki. And from there, what he did is kind of use 2016 as a building season. He didn't win any Supercross races. He won 1 or 2 outdoor races. In the Supercross series, I think he ended up 4th or 5th. Yeah, actually 4th, but with no wins. Then, 2017, he catches fire at Phoenix. Remember the infamous Phoenix? Week after Roczen gets hurt, smashes everybody, starts going on a winning streak, gets to New Jersey. All he has to do is win this race, and he's pretty much got the title. Even if he just podiums, he's pretty much got this title in 2017. Nope, not Eli. Tips over, gets up really slow, then goes to Vegas, and he's pissed because of the team tactics that Marvin and Ryan Dungey did where they let him buy it. And he bunches everybody up and causes all sorts of mayhem and creates one of the best races I've ever seen in my life. As he bunched everybody up, Dungey was none too happy with it. But Dungey ended up winning, and it was questionable. Then, from there, he's going to be the guy from here on out, right? Because he was so dominant in 17, he just had a little bit of a slow start and a weird moment. Well, he starts winning 2018, crashes at the opening round with the lead, and of all things, his pants broke. Only Eli breaks a buckle and can't race because his pants are falling off. You can't script this stuff. If you script it, you'd be like, what? His pants broke? You can ride through that, but I don't know if you can or not, and I don't know that I'd want to ride Supercross with a broken belt or my pants down. It's just not something I'd want to do, but it was so Eli. So after having his pants come down, hurting his shoulder, I mean, it was a nasty crash. I mean, look at this thing. He really eats it. He comes down, hits his head, his shoulder. It was not something that, that could take a lot of guys out for a long time. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't just the pants. Maybe he had his bell rung here. Maybe his shoulder was hurting and he didn't know. But it sure was weird, and it had everybody scratching their heads. So he wins the next 2 rounds, and oh my God, he's right back in it. Well, He's looking really good, on pace to win the title. He hole shots in Arlington and fades. He didn't crash, he didn't do anything. He faded all the way back to 12th, 41 seconds behind Webb and Roczen. We're like, what? How do you do this? How does a guy so good do this? Meanwhile, in 2017, he had won the outdoor title. 2018, won the outdoor title. 2019, this guy is so good. And he still keeps it exciting. He has his moments where he's just up and down because he's not completely dominant like, say, Carmichael Stewart or they were in their heyday. But he does show flashes of that, and he's really the only rider that kind of shows us those crazy flashes. But then it just doesn't quite work out. Well, 2020 was a little different. He prepped, and he was in there, and he just looked different all year. Even though there was a pandemic, he was winning this title no matter what. His bad days were only thirds and fourths. They weren't 12ths. He really figured it out. He got the gorilla off his back. He became a Supercross champion. But literally, as he lit the candles to win his Supercross title, the fire in him and what kind of made him the guy almost seemed to go out. The outdoor series was less than impressive. And the 2021 season, he just doesn't seem to be... He'll win when he can, and he's better than most of the guys out there, but he just doesn't willing to go to that edge, which leads me to believe he's probably retiring. But I'm going to miss him. I mean, look at this guy. Monster Cup, when he won this guy $1 million, even that had controversy with Joey pulling over for him. Well, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Does he go to Yamaha? Does he retire? You guys tell me.